Hey guys, my name is Ceekae and you're checking out a sound design tutorial for Sapphire College. So today I'm gonna show you how to create this super clean percussion-based sound, which you can use in future house, deep house, minimal, and even tech house. So check it out. So I know that some of you guys are lazy and I totally understand you. If you don't want to recreate the sound on your own and spend 10-15 minutes messing around with Serum and sound design, you can just check out the description. I will put down a link so you can just download the patch completely for free, no account required or something like this. But I would ask you kindly to leave a like and so we both get something out of this. But I would definitely recommend you to try at least on your own, because this patch is not that difficult actually. It's quite simple, so you just can do your best, and if it doesn't work, and it definitely should work, but if it doesn't work, you can still download the preset. And I also want to point out that this preset, this patch, is part of the Serum Bass Volume 1 preset package by Sapphire Sounds, which you can actually download currently for free. I will put down a link in the description as well, so you can check this out and see if you like other presets. They are in the same vibe like this one, which you can use in the same genre. Actually, something for tropical house and even future house, future bass, but only bass sounds. But check them out. Maybe there are some presets that you like. So before we start, I want to just say a little bit about this preset. So it's based on a pulse wave with a modulated filter. We have a stereo image, which we have to process afterwards with some queuing and a multiband imager. I used Isotope's ozone imager because you can process different bands, so you can process the bass differently than the mid-range, which is needed. And I will show you how to do this as well, of course, after the main sound design. And you can go a step further with FM, so frequency modulation, to achieve this more metallic future house character, which could sound like this, for example. In comparison. So this is a more advanced step, but I think it's quite intuitive, and I will show you how to, or give you some tricks and tips and show you how to do FM in Serum, and you can just mess around with it and maybe you get something that you like. And like I said, it's quite intuitive, but this is more advanced and not included in the patch, so that you have to do on your own. I'm sorry guys, but this is how it works. Yeah, so let's get started. The first thing that we want to do is load up a complete new instance and initialize instance of Serum. And this sounds like a typical saw wave. Yeah, not that cool, but we want to make sure that Serum is a mono, so we don't hear this overlapping notes. If we got one and we want to use the glide function without turning on always, so we want to make sure it's mono and use the basic shapes and the pulse wave. Turn it down 1 octave. You can, of course, do this, but I like to do for bass sounds, pitch it down an octave, so you can play it normally on a keyboard. Then we want to add a sub layer. Just pitch it down 2 octaves, lower the volume to around 43%, and shape the envelope. So we want a decay at around 1.46 seconds. Lower the sustain to -20 decibels, something like this, because we want this percussion tag sound, and increase the release to 800. Yeah, something, come on, like this. So let's check it out. So it's more smoother and more bass-like. And then we want to add a filter, so choose the MG low 24, turn down the cutoff to around 110 Hertz, and let's map envelope number 2 to the cutoff. and just do it by drag drop and head over to the matrix where you can choose the modulation amount, and we will, yeah, something like 31 should be fine. Of course, you can change this to your taste, so a higher value is a more higher frequency. Yeah, I sorry, more, you get more high frequencies in it, and it's the typical cut-off thing that you use in lead sounds. So we want to decrease the decay on envelope number 2 to around 400, 500, something like this. Lower the sustain completely, because this should be the pluck attack that you typically would do on pluck sounds, pluck lead sounds. And let's check it out. And as you can see, we are quite there already. So it's, like I said, very simple to do, and you can do more advanced stuff, but give it a second. So one thing that we want to do is, the last thing actually for this section, is use envelope number 3 to map it to the cause pitch. And this is a typical trick that many producers use, and which is not that popular, I guess, or I think at least, is to use an envelope on the coarse pitch, head over to the matrix, choose, I think it's called unipolar, yeah. So it's only modulating in one direction, and choose 3 octaves, so 36 semitones. There we go. Lower the sustain completely and the release to very short, like 0.2 milliseconds. And just listen to what happens if we turn down this decay. So we want to choose something like 7.6 milliseconds, for example. And as you can hear, this pitch sweep somehow converts into a attack sound. And this is because the human ear can't realize this very, very short, I mean, these are 7.6 milliseconds, very, very short pitch modulation, pitch sweep. And it creates an illusion of attack for our human ears. And you can check it out or hear the comparison if I just bypass this modulation. So just listen carefully. Come on, there we go. Bypass. And activate. You see, you get a lot more attack, and this is a typical thing that you normally would do on lead sounds or pluck sounds to make it even more pluckier, and because we have a percussion bass which needs attack, and if you sidechain it, for example, you lose a lot of attack. This is like actually the thing that you want to achieve, so less attack, but you want still to maintain this this percussion click at the transient. And one thing that you can still add to the sound is something that isn't included in the patch, but you could do, is to add the noise oscillator. Choose the attack, kick attack number 1 or something else that you like, and make sure to hit this knob and just listen. And compare. So you see, you get more attack, and you can modulate and change even the pitch to fit it more to your track. And this is a thing that you can do if you still think you have too less attack. But for the sake of this video, I will turn off the noise because this isn't part of the patch. Yeah, let's head over to the effect section. So we want some dimension, but first let's turn down the hyper mix because we don't want hyper. We just want dimension, like for example 5% of the size, and turn up the mix to around, let's say 64%. And compare. So this is the step where we create the stereo image. And this is important because it's a typical thing for this type of bass. If you don't have a multi-bit image to process it afterwards out of Serum, which you will need to do for your mix to work, if you use dimension, you just turn off this dimension knob. Of course, then you don't have this stereo image, but there are, like, you can use like frequency split options in your mixer and create some crazy routing stuff and make the one thing mono and the other. If you're advanced, you know what I mean. But if you don't have the imager possibilities, you will need to make or to turn this off. But I will show you how to do this in Ozone Imager later on. Then add some distortion. Choose the Seinfeld option, turn down the drive to, like, say 8%, I think it's in the patch, and turn down the mix, depending, or like choose something that fits your taste. And make sure to, at this stage, switch back to your monitors and headphones, so forward and backwards to monitors and headphones, to make sure that you don't have too much drive or distortion, because you probably won't hear the distortion on your monitors if you just have like the typical home studio monitors and don't or you aren't in this optimal environment to listen to the sound. You will need to check this on your headphones so you don't get this annoying sparkle, like not good sounding noise. If you hear it, you will know what I mean. So just check it. Okay, let's continue with EQing. So just boost the bass for, yeah, let's say around 4 dB, lower the Q, and this is a thing that you have to, I can give you some values, but EQing is always a matter of your mix, so it depends completely on your mix how to EQ your sounds. But something like this should be fine, like 10 dB attenuating the high end and 4 dB boosting the low end. And of course, let's do some compression afterwards. Compression is a typical thing to do on bass sounds because different bass notes have different bass energies, and this is a typical thing you might face if you're like in your studio and you think it sounds cool, and you head over to your car and listen back to your mix, and the first bass note is like booming, and the second bass note is like completely away, so you don't hear any of the second bass note, and you're thinking like, what happened to my mix? I think so you don't do any automation, so it should be consistent, but this is a thing of different bass energy levels, which you can compensate with compression. So we do some slight compression in Serum. So for example, I think 6 to 10 decibels gain reduction should be fine, make up for it. Always keep in mind that you wanna do gain staging, which means you have a level that you go into the plugin and you want to keep this level outside your plugin. So you the technical thing is that you don't clip when you go from one plugin to the other plugin, and it's also a thing that you can see and listen and hear the difference actually that you're achieving with the plugin, and you don't just hear the level difference, which compressors typically do, or typically, actually they make the sound more quiet, but by making up for it, it's louder, and louder always sounds better, at least for humans. So you're done for this patch, so just check it out. Compare it to the original one. So we got, in this patch, we got more bass, and you can manipulate this settings, for example, the cutoff, the amount, and the EQing and drive and stuff like this, to your taste and to fit your track. As I promised, I will now show you how to process the sound afterwards, and I already did this with the original preset, and we will do this with our new created one. So let's listen to this. And the first thing that we want to do is not zoom in, zoom out again, thank you. Add an EQ. I would choose the Fab Filter Perc 2 and use a low and high cut. This is a custom preset, so you probably won't have this. And I just cut around 20 Hertz and 24 dB per octave. And I think you could also go to 3K actually. And so we don't have these complete muddy low end. If you need to, you can actually go to 40 Hertz and it still won't matter. So I think around 25, 26 should be okay. Okay, so let's continue with our imager solution. I choose the Isotope Ozone imager. I don't know any other multi-band imager out there. At least no one that I used before, I think. But doesn't matter. If you just listen to the low end, so below, let's say 165 Hertz, you see that we got our low end all over the place, and we don't want this, and we don't want it to clip. And what we do is make it mono. And then what you can do, why are we Serum? Make sure you don't clip. I think we made up too much in the compressor. So we got mono in this low end, and then what you can do is this one. Mess around with this mid-range. This completely depends on the track. If you got like a future bass kind of thing with 160 channels of percussion, leads, synthesizers and whatnot, you want to make it more mono because you don't have this much space. For our example, we just have some drumming, so we can add more wide, depending on your taste, of course. So we're done with afterwards processing, and I promised to show you some more advanced FM techniques that you can use. You don't have to, but if you're heading to more like future house, you might want to consider doing FM, and this can be really creative. So what we want to do is just choose a basic analog BD sine wave and turn down the level, because we don't want the sound, we just want the frequencies to modulate envelope oscillator A. So just choose in the modulation section, choose FM from B, and just listen to what happens. Oh, there we go. And if you're listening to this video on your monitors or headphones, you will hear that we lose a lot of bass energy. And you might consider increasing the level of the sub oscillator, or compressing more, or for example turn down oscillator B an octave. But you have to consider that if you use frequency modulation, you will probably lose some bass energy. One further step that you could do is even like inception modulation, modulate the modulation wave. Sounds complicated, it's quite easy actually. Just choose, for example, band plus minus, select LFO1, map it to the modulation, and do something like this, for example. And this also changes sound. And one further step that you could do is use envelope 2. We want LFO2 and make it to envelope, and map it again to the cause pitch. So unipolar, LFO2 3 octaves. Come on, there we go. And check out, we don't want BPM match, just so in this case we would normally decrease the decay. In this case we want to increase the rate. And listen. So around this, and now listen. And this is the part where you can get really creative and do like crazy dubstep sounds or whatnot by automating these parameters. Yeah, so we are pretty much done for this video. I hope I could help you guys with this tutorial. If you got any questions or issues, just leave a comment down below and we can discuss and hopefully help you with this issue. Or if you got any requests for other sounds that I could show you. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. And by the way, my new EP is out. It's called Spectral on Spotify and co. So maybe there are some links now in the video on the description down below. If you like, check them out. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.